The revelation, the hegemony fleet, dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of human-controlled space with perfect precision, 500 ships arranged in the traditional sphere of domination. Formation, a tactic that had crushed 1,000 rebellions over the millennia. At the center was the flagship Eternal Order, a vessel 20 km long that served as both battleship and mobile command center. Lord Commander 3 stood on the bridge, his forearms clasped behind his back as he surveyed the tactical display. Around him, officers from a dozen species worked their stations. The Zenari navigation specialist, the Atherian communications officer, the Malavan weapons master, each the best their species could offer. Initial scans complete, reported the sensor officer. A crystalline being whose body refracted light into rainbow patterns, detecting human presence on 3 worlds in this system. Military installations appear to be minimal. Threx mandibles clicked in satisfaction. As expected, their captain's threats were nothing but desperation. He turned to the communication station, broadcast the submission demand. The message went out across all frequencies. By order of the stellar hegemony, humanity will cease all expansion immediately. Your military forces will stand down. Your government will accept hegemony oversight. You have 1 hour to comply. The response came in less than a minute. It was Captain Ray's. Her image appearing on the main screen. Behind her was what appeared to be a simple command center. Nothing impressive by hegemony standards, Lord Commander. Threats, she said calmly. I had hoped the hegemony would reconsider. Since you haven't, I'm required to inform you that you're in violation of human sovereign space. You have 10 minutes to withdraw. Threk's laugh was a harsh, barking sound. 10 minutes, Captain. Do you see our fleet? Each of our ships could destroy one of your worlds. Together we could turn your entire civilization to ash. Yes, I see your fleet, all 500 ships, the Eternal Order. In the center, flanked by 72 heavy cruisers, 150 destroyers, and the rest support vessels. We've been watching you since you left hegemony space. That gave 3. Pause. Human space was 3 days' travel from the nearest hegemony monitoring station. How could they have been watching? Your 10 minutes are now 9. Reyes continued. I strongly advise you to use them. The transmission ended. Rogent Primitive's threat growled. All ships advance. Weapons free. Disable their orbital platforms first, then prepare for planetary bombardment. Fleet moved forward like an unstoppable tide. The first human installation came into range, a small defense platform orbiting the outer planet, hegemony. Weapons locked on, energy beams charged, missiles prepared to launch. Then something impossible happened. Space itself seemed to ripple around the defense platform. What had appeared to be a simple structure 20 m across suddenly unfolded like an origami flower. Layers of hidden armor plating extended. Weapon ports that shouldn't exist opened along surfaces that hadn't been there a moment before. In seconds, the tiny platform had become a fortress the size of a small moon. What in the void? The sensor officer gasped. The mass readings are this can't be right. It's showing the platform has the mass of a battleship, but compressed into. Before he could finish, the platform fired not energy beams or missiles, but something else. Space itself seemed to bend around the projectiles, creating corridors of twisted reality that bypass shields entirely. 3. Hegemony destroyers simply ceased to exist, their matter converted instantly to energy that dispersed into space. Evasive maneuvers thwarted all ships. Return fire, the hegemony fleet unleashed everything they had. Beams of pure energy that could crack continents. Missiles that could punch through mountain ranges, weapons that had ended civilizations. The human platform absorbed it all, not with shields but with something else. The attack seemed to slow as they approach, then stop, then reverse, flying back at the hegemony fleet with twice their original power. Temporal manipulation, the science officer whispered in horror. They're manipulating time itself around their defenses. Then the real shock came. Space rippled again, but this time across the entire system, like a curtain being pulled back. Ships began appearing, not just a few hundreds, each one impossible in its own way. Some were made of materials that shouldn't exist, metals that bent light around them. Others were partially phased out of reality, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and at the center of them all, something emerged that made even threat take a step back. It was called Prometheus. Unbound, though the hegemony wouldn't learn that name until later. The ship was 30 km long, but that was the least impressive thing about it. Its hull seemed to be made of crystallized space itself, constantly shifting between solid and ethereal. Weapons covered every surface, but they were weapons based on principles of physics the hegemony hadn't even theorized about. Sir, the sensor officer's voice was barely a whisper. I'm detecting the ship is generating its own pocket universe. It exists partially outside our reality. Our weapons can't even reach it. A new transmission came through. Not Captain Ray's this time, but someone else, a man with gray hair and piercing blue eyes, wearing the uniform of a fleet admiral. I am Admiral Chen of the Terran Shadow Navy. For 70 years, you've seen what we wanted you to see. Small ships, basic weapons, limited defenses. But humanity learned long ago that the best way to avoid a fight is to appear weak while being strong. The Prometheus Unbound moved forward, and as it did, hegemony ships began to shut down, not destroyed, just turned off. Their power systems failed, their weapons went dead, their engines stopped. We developed technology you couldn't imagine, Admiral Chen continued, not because we wanted to conquer, but because we knew someone would eventually try to conquer us. Every species you subjugated showed you their strength up front. We showed you weakness while building weapons that operate on principles you haven't discovered yet. Threk tried to give orders, but the communications were down. He could only watch as his fleet, the pride of the hegemony, was neutralized without firing another shot. Your ships will be released once you return to hegemony space, but understand this: humanity has installations like this in every system. We claim we have weapons that could unravel the fabric of space itself. We chose not to use them because we don't want to destroy you. We want to coexist. But coexistence means equality, not subjugation. The hidden truth, the investigation. 3 days after the evacuation, Varys found himself in a conference room aboard the Horizon's Dawn that was larger than his old command center. Around him sat the survivors of Zorlani. Leadership, scientists, military commanders and government officials. Facing them were Admiral Chen and her senior staff. Between them floated a holographic display showing the quantum collapse that had destroyed their home. "We need to understand what happened, Doctor," Malna said, her voice steady despite the exhaustion evident in her posture. "Our scientists detected no natural cause for the collapse. It appeared suddenly with no warning. Stars don't just spontaneously develop quantum instabilities." A human scientist, Dr. James Patterson, manipulated the holographic display. He was an older man with gray hair and eyes that held the intensity of someone who had spent decades solving impossible problems. "You're right to be suspicious," Patterson said. "We've been analyzing the energy signatures from the collapse, and we found something disturbing. Look at this pattern." The display zoomed in on the quantum distortion, revealing intricate structures within the chaos. Mathematical patterns that were too precise to be natural. "Those are quantum resonance harmonics," Mona said, immediately leaning forward. "But the frequency is all wrong. It's artificial." "Exactly," Patterson confirmed. "Someone or something created that collapsed deliberately. It was a weapon." The room fell silent. Varys felt anger rising in his chest. "Are you telling me that someone destroyed our entire solar system on purpose, murdered billions of people?" "Not billions," Admiral Chen said quietly. "Your population was evacuated, but yes, someone tried to commit genocide against your species." "Who?" Varys demanded. "What species would do this?" Patterson brought up another display, this one showing ancient symbols and star charts. "No current species, Commander. This weapon was built approximately 5 million years ago by a civilization that called themselves the Architects." Ma stood abruptly, her chair scraping across the floor. "That's impossible. The Architects are a myth, a legend from ancient folklore." "We thought so too," Patterson replied, "until we started finding their weapons. This is the 7th quantum collapse we've detected. In the past 200 years, each one followed the same pattern, targeting systems with advanced civilizations while avoiding primitive worlds." Varys processed this information, his tactical mind making connections. "You're saying this weapon has been active for 5 million years, hunting advanced species?" "Not continuously," Chen interjected. "The weapon appears to activate periodically, scanning for civilizations that reach a certain technological threshold. When it finds one, it triggers a quantum collapse to destroy them." "But why?" demanded General Corvin, one of the Zorlane senior military commanders. Dr. Patterson pulled up more data showing archaeological findings from dozens of dead worlds. The Architects were fighting something they called the Harvesters, a machine intelligence that consumed organic life. They built this weapon as a defense mechanism, but the Architects made a critical error in its programming. It didn't distinguish between the Harvesters and other advanced species, Malna said, understanding dawning in her eyes. "It just sees technological advancement as a threat and tries to eliminate it." "Correct," Patterson confirmed, "and every time it encounters a new civilization, it learns from their technology. It's been adapting and improving for 5 million years." Varys felt a chill run through him. "How many civilizations has it destroyed, based on the dead worlds?" "We found at least 43 confirmed," Chen said. "Probably more that we haven't discovered yet." The Zorlani leaders exchanged horrified glances. 43. Civilizations, countless billions of lives all erased by an ancient weapon. That couldn't be reasoned with or stopped. How do you know all this? Varys asked. How has humanity gathered so much information about an ancient weapon? Admiral Chen and Dr. Patterson exchanged glances. Finally Chen spoke. Because we've been hunting it for the past 150 years, Commander, and because humanity's history in space is much longer than we've let the rest of the galaxy know. The human solution. Chen stood and gestured to the star chart floating in the center of the room. Red dots appeared throughout the display, hundreds of them scattered throughout multiple sectors. These are human deep space monitoring stations, she explained. We've been placing them throughout this region of the galaxy for a century. Each one is designed to detect the specific energy signatures that appear before quantum collapse. Varys stared at the map in disbelief. Over a century, but your species only achieved faster than light travel 75 years ago, according to our records. According to the records, we wanted other species to see, Chen corrected gently. The truth is that humanity achieved FTL travel 200 years ago. We've been exploring space quietly, learning, watching and preparing, but for the deception. M&A asked, why hide your capabilities? Dr. Patterson answered, this time because we learned early on that the galaxy isn't a safe place. When we first ventured out, we discovered the dead worlds, the remnants of civilizations that had been destroyed. We found evidence of the architect weapon and realized that something was hunting advanced species. We made a decision, Chen continued. Instead of announcing ourselves as another advanced civilization and potentially becoming targets, we decided to work in secret. We presented ourselves as a young primitive species, while building a network to detect and respond to threats. You've been protecting the galaxy without anyone knowing, Varys said slowly. Implications were staggering. We've been trying, Chen admitted. We've detected 17 potential quantum collapses over the past 100 years. We've successfully prevented 13 of them by intervening before the weapon fully activated. The other 4, including yours, activate too quickly for us to prevent, but we made sure to evacuate every citizen we could. General Corrin leaned forward, his military mind analyzing the strategy. You've created an entire secret fleet dedicated to this mission. How large is your actual military? Chen smiled. Large enough, but we prefer to focus on rescue and prevention rather than warfare. We've been building ships specifically designed for rapid evacuation and response. The vessels you saw are part of the expeditionary fleet, one of 12 such fleets we maintain. 12 fleets. Varys felt his world tilting again, each with 47 ships, minimum, Patterson said. Some fleets are larger, and that's not counting our exploration vessels, cargo ships, or the defense platforms we've placed throughout inhabited space. Malna was furiously calculating on her data pad. The resource expenditure alone would be staggering. How has your economy supported this? We made it a priority, Chen said simply. Every human knows about the threat. We dedicate 20% of our entire civilization's resources to the protection initiative. It's written into our planetary constitution. The room fell silent as the Zorani leaders absorbed this information. Humanity, the species they had dismissed as primitive, had been running the largest protection operation in galactic history without anyone knowing. There's something else, Dr. Patterson said, bringing up a new display. We've located what we believe is the architect's control facility. It's in a dead system, about 40 light years from here. If we can reach it and shut down the weapon properly, we can stop these quantum collapses permanently. What do you need from us? Varys asked immediately. Chen looked at him with respect. Your scientific knowledge. The architects were masters of quantum mechanics far beyond even our current understanding. We have the firepower and the ships to reach the facility, but we need your scientists to help us deactivate the weapon without triggering a fail-safe that could destroy half the galaxy. Our entire scientific community will assist. Melina stood. When do we leave the main fleet? Will establish temporary colonies for your people, Chen explained. But we're assembling a joint task force of human and Zorani personnel to approach the architect facility. We leave in 3 days. Over the next 72 hours, Varys watched as two species who had been strangers a week ago worked together with incredible efficiency. Human engineers and Zorani scientists shared knowledge freely, combining human innovations with Zorani theoretical understanding. The result was technology that neither species could have created alone. The task force consisted of 12 human ships and 5 Zorlani science vessels that had been retrofitted with human drive systems. Varys commanded the Zorlane contingent while Admiral Chen led the overall operation. As they prepared to depart, Varys found himself standing on the observation deck with Admiral Chen, watching the refugee fleet settle into temporary orbital colonies around a human-designated safe world. Your people will be comfortable here, Chen assured him. We've established colonies on 6 different worlds in the system. Your government can operate independently while you rebuild. Rebuild, Varys repeated. We've lost everything, Admiral. Our home, our history, 15,000 years of civilization. Wiped away in hours, not wiped away, Chen corrected. Your people survived, all of them. Your culture, your knowledge, your history, it all lives on in your people. Civilizations aren't buildings and planets, Commander. They're the people who carry them forward. Varys looked at the human admiral with new understanding. You speak from experience. Chen nodded. Earth has faced extinction threats before. We've learned that survival requires adaptation, cooperation, and the willingness to help others even when it's difficult. These aren't just words for us, Commander. Then,